Welcome everybody to another episode of Results Sled Life podcast. I am your host, Greg Stanback, and I'm glad that you are here today because you being here today is just telling me that you want to get better. We had a great show today. Something that's going to help you, is going to help me, is going to help all of us that maybe deal with some things, whether it's legal issues, whether it's anxiety, or just how to deal with certain things in life. Have you ever felt like there's times in the day or times in your life where you want to get certain things done, but you feel like you can't. You feel like you're stuck or stuck in the mud, or there's some type of issue or a problem that you deal with, and you just want to try to figure out what is the best way I can handle that. Well, I have a gentleman with me today who I've known for a couple of years now that I consider my brother, and I'm elated to have him on our show today. His name is Johnny Gaspard. He's an attorney here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and he's going to share with us some of his thoughts on how we can navigate life, how we can deal with law issues that may come up with, but more importantly, how you can solve more problems so that you can live better. And without eating more, I really want to get into the show because we don't have a lot of time, but we have enough time. So right here on your screen is Johnny Gaspar. Johnny, I want to welcome you to the Results Sled Life. How you doing today, my
Thank you,
brother?
Greg. I'm well, my brother. I'm well. Thank you for this opportunity to come and share my thoughts and experiences with the world. I truly appreciate you having me on your show, and I know it's going to be a great time sharing, my brother.
Absolutely. And one thing we really want to get into, like you talked about, is your experience and everything. So before we even do that, let our audience know who you are. How did you get started? What brought you to where you're at right now? Could be certain challenges, could have been a turning point in your life. You know, there's something that I believe that will resonate with a lot of people out there that they may not have been. So I'm gonna give you this opportunity to tell me about you because I know you, but let everybody else know who you are.
Well, thank you for that. So, everybody out there, my name is Johnny Gaspard. I hail from the beautiful and lovely island of St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands. I've been living in as we call it, back home in the States now, for at least the last 35, almost 40 years of my life. Came here after a significant matter when I was a teenager, right in high school. We had a hurricane that completely destroyed the island, and I was in my senior year of high school. Mom was like, I need to make sure you get the best degree, have the best options possible. So, for lack of a better term, she shipped me off to California to my aunt,
And get
who
out.
who I had spoken to on the phone, but had never actually met in person. So
Mm.
this would be the first time. So talk about anxiety, talk about stress. But the great thing about it is my family has been and has taught me, especially my grandmother, about faith and believing and trusting who God is. So that's a major part of my life and how I deal with a lot of the things that come with this life that we live, which is gonna be, as the Bible tells us, filled with trials and tribulations. And we all know you go through ups and downs. So one day is great, you might go through months of great things happening, and then the next thing you know, all of a sudden something hits, and you got to figure out how do you deal with it in that moment. How do you keep pushing through?
Yeah.
So to say the least, I ended up going to California, meeting my aunt, her husband, my cousins, blending great with their family, and then having a great senior year, getting accepted to LSU for undergrad, and how I ended up in New Orleans from the Virgin Islands. That's another story because my my grandparents lived in New Orleans, and my grandmother, from the time I think I was in high school, I was like, "You're gonna go to LSU, LSU," and I'm like, "What's up with LSU?" But being in New Orleans, that's all you're hearing. You don't hear about Tulane, you don't hear about Suno, Xavier, you hear about LSU all the time on the radio. So that's how I end up looking into it. LSU had a great program. Go there, graduate, then decide to go to law school. And Southern University, which is the HBCU right across the train tracks, was a perfect place for me. It allowed me to be in a city that I was familiar with, comfortable with. It allowed me to be in an environment that supported what it is that I wanted to do, which is become a lawyer, and it allowed me to be a place where they wanted me to succeed, which again, as a HBCU, that was very important to me. So ended up going to Southern, My first year there after graduating
Hold
from
on.
college, I actually,
I don't mean to cut you off, but I have a question because you
yeah,
said something very important. You said one HBCU, but you said something that may resonate with a lot of people. It made
yeah,
you feel comfortable.
correct.
What made you feel comfortable? What was it that you had may have had, not anxiety, but you know, reservations about? But what about that experience made you comfortable?
Well, when I first got to LSU, imagine this is a kid growing up in a predominantly Black community of the Caribbean, and I go to California, which is like the melted. When I tell you the melting pot, that's the melting pot. The high school I went to had 25% of every race: Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, literally, right? So there was no animosity. Everybody got along. It seemed ideal, like the ideal living situation. So I get to Louisiana for the first time at this deep South. And you see how chocolate I am, Greg. So this is that was my first experience with racism.
Got
So
you.
I end up at LSU, like I said, which is a predominantly white institution. And although I don't feel like I experienced a racist action or incident at LSU, but it was just being in the environment that wasn't as relaxing. You felt like you always had to be on your P's and Q's.
Had to be
And
on
I'll more
edge.
so say, yeah, yeah. And that was it. And that's why I said when I'm going to Southern, I was going to be around my people. I was going to be around people that looked like me, who made me feel comfortable. And that's what I think resonated with going there versus going to
Absolutely.
another law school.
Absolutely. That's great. That's important, because a lot of people um don't understand how to deal with those things and don't understand how to deal with fear, the fear of the unknown, so to speak.
Correct.
And you got to be able to put yourself in positions through experiences to understand how to navigate through that. So I thought that was very, very important. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but that was important. Something you said
No,
that you said I want to touch on.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And it, like I said, it allowed me to feel comfortable that I was gonna be able to be in an environment that supported me and wanted me to succeed, and that was very important to me in where I was choosing where to go. So, like I said, end up at Southern. My first year there was very difficult because I had actually worked 3 years after graduating college, and I'm now getting back into the school grind of being actually in class, and it just didn't work for me. I would go home afterward, kick on my feet, or go to the pool, play the strip pool. And that's when in law school, that's when you got to be reading. That's when you got to be studying. That's because it's on your time that you're really going to get better. So that first year wasn't very good, to say the least. I ended up on probation. Yes, Lord. But God is good, right? And
Absolutely.
that year
All the
also what triggered that issue as well. My grandfather passed away in my first semester there, and this was a man that taught me what it meant to be a man. Even though my dad was around, I spent a lot of time with my grandfather, and he showed me what it meant to be a husband, on a daily basis. What it meant to
absolutely.
be involved in your family and be a provider. And again, not that my dad didn't, but because of my relationship and the time I spent with my grandparents, because literally I went from school and I stayed with them after school every day until my parents would come and get me after they're finished working. And so for me, they were the examples of what it meant. So here's this man who's been in my life my entire life, and he passes away. So that was a real impact on me, and at a point where I did not want to return my second semester. And my grandmother was very inspirational. And she asked me, why did you end up going to law school? What was the reason? Did God send you there, or was this something you just wanted to do? And when I told her I felt how things went and how I got there, that this was a process from the Lord, she was like, okay, so what are we talking about then? Take your behind back to school and let's get this thing done. So I ended up going back my second semester. Like I said, after that, I
That's
was placed
abs-
on probation. Yeah, man. But the next 2 years, Greg, was so incredible. I finished with the highest GPA of all of my classmates that I started with in the first year, and graduated on time with everyone. Then I moved to Florida and been practicing about 24 years now.
Well, look at
So
that.
that's
That
what got me here. Yeah, man. And
and
I've been
that's
practicing
important.
on my own from day one.
Well, what I heard from that was important is that we all have this inner voice, and we are both me, you are both people of faith. We don't hide that or shed light to that.
For sure.
Um, Listening to that spirit and letting that spirit guide you, because there's a lot of times things happen in life where we either start to doubt ourselves or we don't believe in ourselves, and we just need that little push, whether it's from a friend, whether it's a certain situation in life. A lot of people don't look at that. You know, a lot of people look at at things that go bad in their life as a problem, but a lot of times there's good in that. All things are for good.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
God will turn something bad into something very good. So whether it's the death of your your um your
Grandfather.
grandfather, and allowing that situation to propel you to be where you're at right now instead of where you're at. So it took something that may be that is tragic
Yeah.
and emotional, but it allows you to be where you're at. So now, because now that we talked about it, you're a lawyer here in Fort Lauderdale. First of all, what type
Correct.
of law do you practice?
I do predominantly criminal defense work, but I also do a lot of estate planning, probate work, and personal injury. I mean, we're in
Okay,
South Florida. We got a lot of elderly people here that, we all gonna go through that. So I figured, hey, there's a market for it. Why not do?
great, great. Well, since we got you here, let's tap in and get some free advice, everybody. This is free advice, and just take advantage of it.
No
The
problem.
question I have is, everybody want to be a courtroom lawyer. I mean, a TV lawyer. Everybody think they know law, but really don't know the law. So what are three things that you think that people should know about the law that they really don't, that can help them in their lives?
Well, I'll take this from the because there's different areas of law. There's two separate areas of law for the perspective overall. There's the
Mhm.
criminal area of law, and then there's civil area of law. Criminal
Got it.
obviously deals with crime, and when make people injure someone intentionally. Key word,
Hmm.
intentionally. Um, or with the likelihood that your behavior would have led to an injury. That's a crime. And then there's a civil side, which is money. Anything civil is money, whether it's your house with a foreclosure, estate for the probate, that's money.
Gotcha.
Personal injury, you got hit in the car, that's money. So those are the two different sides. So from a criminal perspective, the three things I'll always tell people: if you ever encounter the justice system in a manner that may be criminal related, that's the best way I can say it. Because you may not believe you have committed a crime, but you are now being questioned because of something that may be criminal related. Okay.
Gotcha.
One, if you're unsure, be quiet. When the police come to you and say, "Hey, we just want to question you. We just have a few questions for you." Now, if you're just a witness and you saw what happened and you feel comfortable, go ahead, please share. Because a lot of times, especially in our neighborhoods, we are unwilling to talk to the police. There's a I wouldn't use the word misconception, but a perception that anytime we get involved with the police department, it's something negative and it doesn't work out well for people of color. Okay. Whether we're a witness or an actual participant, or even if we're
Yes.
calling them to help us. Because
Yeah.
unfortunately, a lot of times people call because a family member may be mentally going through a mental minute. And the next thing you know, that family member ends up dying at the hands of the police because they are unable to deal with that type of situation. So, one, be quiet. Feel like if you need to feel like you have to get an attorney, tell them, listen, I'm not comfortable speaking with you right now. I would like to speak with someone, an attorney first before I speak with
Mhm.
you. And that way you allow them to see, hey, I'm willing to work with you guys, but before I do, I want to make sure that I don't have any potential issue that may come up for me. Okay.
Exactly.
So that's one thing. Number two, from a criminal perspective, if you can, and if you please get an attorney that which is related to number one, which is be quiet. But number two, if you get involved, just get an attorney. That's all I'm saying to you, because when you're dealing with anything criminal related, you may not even believe you did anything. And you may not have done anything, but you may say something that implies you did something.
Mhm.
And number three, and finally, from a criminal perspective, those who may be watching the Diddy trial right now and all of the, I guess, the TV-ness of it, this literally is so far from what you're hearing on TV and on the blogs and on Twitter or Blue Sky or any of the other uh, things that you're getting your news from. Unless you're in that courtroom to honestly get the information, you really don't know what is being done or said.
Yes.
So we as human beings, when the reason why a lot of times people tell you don't let the news or what you hear, don't believe half of what you hear or none of what you see or something like that, is because a lot of it is distorted to get you I guess a rise out of you. You get me?
Mhm.
Too. So just be willing to listen to everything before you make your own personal decision, and know that your experiences, sadly, are going to play a major role in how you deal with it criminally. Okay?
Gotcha.
So that's a
Gotcha.
criminal side. Three things civilly: always answer the papers if you get served. Don't ever believe there's a business side and there's a legal side. So I'll give you an example,
Mhm.
Greg. Some people get a foreclosure notice in the mail, and because life happens and they weren't able to pay. And that's great what's going on behind you. I love that. That's messing with you big time right now, but it's all good. So they get served with foreclosure papers, right? And they're talking to the mortgage company to resolve the issue. And the mortgage company says, yeah, we're going to work it out with you, da 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 da. But you've already been served. So there's the legal side that you have to do. But a lot of people ignore it because they think the business side is going to resolve it. The next thing you know, they've been filed in default and they're about to get their house foreclosed on. And they're mad at the bank. But you guys said you worked this out. Always answer the legal document. Again,
Mhm.
get an attorney. And finally, trust that you don't know what it is you're doing and get an attorney. Those are the
Get an
three things
attorney.
I
So
got.
we got get an attorney. Yeah, that's one thing about doing podcasts and shows and different things. Things happen unexpectedly. So normally I probably would try to edit that out, but that was hilarious. But
Yes.
yeah,
Let's
but
go add a little flair to it, a little comedic flair to
exactly.
it.
So the next question I have is, as we, getting into the middle part of the show is one, you talked about dealing with the police. A lot of times when we deal with the police or have interaction with law enforcement, it's uneasy. It raises our level of anxiety. There's fear behind it. And what are some things that you can share with people and how to take that fear down, take that anxiety down, but give them more confidence as they deal with those situations? What are some things that you teach or tell your clients or when you go out to speak to share with people that will help them have a better interaction? We already know that ask for a lawyer, don't ask any questions, but we're talking more about that mental space. What is it that
Same.
you need that we should do to help us with that?
Great question. I tell people, one, remember that officer that is encountering you is a human being as well. And he
Mhm.
wants or she wants to get back home to their family that night. So you have to, from their perspective, understand that they don't know who they're going to be encountering in the car when they pull you over. It may seem like a simple traffic stop. You didn't turn your blinker on, or you may have turned your blinker on. So because of your past, your experiences, what you've seen, like you said, Greg, we are now in a sense of, oh my God, police, what am I going to do? And we tense up. The best way I can tell you to deal with this is one, just relax in that moment the best that you can. Think of something positive in that moment, whether it be your family that you want to get back home to, your grandmother, your grandparents, something. Think about the beach and how a vacation. So that will relaxes you, number one. Number two, try to get your license, insurance, registration out, put it on the dashboard to make it easier. So before they even get to the car, put it up there to make it easier for both you and them so they can see where you have your stuff. They don't have to see your hands moving. And unfortunately, if you're talking about the daytime versus nighttime, that also plays its role as well, because the
Yep.
officer can't see as well at night. So those are things I would say when you're encountering police officers, especially on a traffic situation, to make your life a little easier. Those are the things I would advise. And when you're just encountering them and let's say you're walking and you see one, you can smile at them. Even if you don't like them, you can smile at them, you know, because again, we got to remember these people are human too. They're out there doing a very dangerous job, and they don't know you from Adam. So as much as, you may seem like a nice guy, that same nice guy may have a weapon that's ready to take their life, and they don't know. So they have to approach you. So I
That's
don't
important.
take, so I don't take officers approaching you hesitantly personally anymore. I do, however, understand their reluctance, but when it comes to us and people of color, they're more reluctant than ever. So we have to do our part to ensure that at the end of the day, we get home to our family the same way they want to. So
Absolutely.
that's as simple as it is.
I think that's great advice and understanding one to relax, breathe, stay calm, and the fact that knowing that they don't know who you are. And just like in life,
Correct.
for every action, there's a reaction, there's a cause and effect. And
That's it.
you can control who you are. You can't control who that officer is coming to you, but you can
Correct.
control, and people don't believe this, how it can go. And we always
Yes.
been taught, especially in our community, the Black community, put two hands on the wheel, yes or no, sir, all those different things. And some of us will do it, and some will say, "Oh, I'm not going to do that. I don't need to do that," or whatever your belief is. But at the end of the day, the key important thing that you said, you both want to go home at the end of the day. So
That's
it's
it.
it's so important that you navigate that situation in a manner that takes their level, their anxiety down, and not escalate it, and not to give them a reason. So that leads into the next
Well,
question I have.
before you continue, because you
Mhm.
said some things that it makes a lot of sense, but let's say, and it happens oftentimes to people of color, where we've done all the things I told them to do. We've done everything. We no sir them and yes sir them, yes ma'am them to death, right? We put our hands at 9 and 3 or whatever they call it, and all of those things. We've done all of the things, and yet they're still being disrespectful. They're still being very confrontational. They're still being very aggressive towards us. How this is the point now where what I thought was going to be a relaxed, easy, incidental moment now turns into an even greater anxiety filled moment. So how do I deal with that point? Because they're going to be those officers
Yes, there is.
that
Okay.
unfortunately will approach your car, and despite how positively and professionally you handle it, will suspect you of something regardless, because their intention wasn't to just stop you, but stop you to investigate you, even if you cross every T and dot every I. So now how do you deal with that scenario? Is you continue to yes sir, yes ma'am situation, no sir, no ma'am. If they start to get aggressive, you stay calm and you continue to answer their questions. If they ask you to get out the vehicle, you do. If they ask you to search your vehicle, you say no.
That's important
Even
because
if
you said answer questions. There's only certain questions you say yes and no to. And
that's
mm,
correct. They're asking for where do you live, why are you in the area, where are you coming from, where are you going? Those are 10 questions you can answer. Even if you feel like you shouldn't have to answer them because you want to get home, answer the
and
question. But once they
got it.
start to become aggressive, you will say, sir, ma'am, all I want to know is, can I get your badge number? And that's it. You don't, and then that's when they're going to get pissed at you. They're either going to get
Mm,
pissed at you or more anxiety, or they're going to say, you know what, sir, you have a good day. But that's how you deal with it. You got to stay
gotcha.
calm the entire time, and no matter how aggressive or ignorant they get towards you, remember, as our host just said, you control you, and that's all you can do.
Got it. All right, so let's shift just a little bit. because I had a question that I think a lot of people like to know. Everybody wants to be their own lawyer. What are some legal documents or legal things that people should have in their lives to, protect themselves from whether it's civil, whether it's any type of litigious, um, I want to say torts, but I don't think that's the proper word.
Litigious
If,
was a good word. Litigious is a good word.
just trying to help our audience, better prepare themselves for life situations.
Well, great point again. I always tell from a estate planning perspective, because like I said, that's what I do, or
Yeah.
or probate, which plays its role. Oh, you should always have a will or a trust. Okay, and there's two types of will. There's the last will and testament or testamentary will, and there's other types of wills too, or living will. Okay, so the testamentary will is where you're writing who you're going to give what to, how you're going to divide up your assets, what you want done with stuff like that. The living will deals with is sort of another term called a health directive. Okay, what do you want done in case you become incapacitated? Do you want to be left on life support if a doctor says you're brain dead?
Yeah.
How long do you want to be kept on life support? Do you want to have CPR done on you? Do you want to be kept with nourishment so that you can continue to survive? Having the living will or a health directive, that's another term, is very, very important. Even if you're married, even if you have a spouse, you should always have that in place because it reduces the stress and anxiety that we're talking about that comes with a moment like that for a spouse. When
And
you
where would
think about,
someone get that will done? Will they go to an attorney like you? I know there's LegalZoom, there are different things. Where's the best place for someone to set up that legal
well,
document?
the best place is always to call Johnny A. Gaspard, PLLC, attorney at law. The number is 305-827-8087 or 954-99-82251. Any of those numbers you dial, or you can go to jag1law.com and you will find the best place to get your will done. Okay.
Absolutely.
However,
Yeah.
you can't financially, or you don't believe you can financially afford an attorney. You can always get them online. You can always get them on Office Depot. You can go to LegalZoom. I don't ever recommend those things because, again, having legal counsel makes you one feel more confident in the documentation that you have is properly prepared. Because in the state of Florida and many states, and in all states in general, there are particular ways you have to do your will to ensure it will be considered valid by that particular state. So if you don't know, and if the document that you may order get from Office Depot or LegalZoom does not necessarily or properly reflect what the procedures are in your state, you may have a will or a trust, but it's not valid because it wasn't done the correct way. Whether that means it
Gotcha.
should have two witnesses, whether that means it needs to be notarized or not notarized, or it has to have what is called a self-proving document in it. All of those things play a role, but having some type of will or trust, having a health directive and or a living will, having a health surrogate document. And what a health surrogate document, how that's different from a health directive, is that the health surrogate tells people who is going to be allowed to make decisions for you. So if you're at the hospital incapacitated, the surrogate document tells who is going to make the decision. So whether that be your child, your girlfriend if you're not married, your spouse, whoever it may be. And then it also creates alternate. You're allowed to say who may be, if this person can't do it, who would be the alternate. So the reason again for that, you take away the stress of the people that are going to have to deal with it while you are going through what it is you're going through. And
That
it
is good.
allows the
Good, great
hospital,
advice.
yeah, it allowed the hospital to know who has the authority to make decisions for you. And then finally, a durable power of attorney. Everyone should have those because, again, if you become incapacitated, the business of your life still has to go on. Your bills still have to be paid. Money will have to still be accessed. Things will still have to be done on your behalf. So you have to have someone handling those things for you if you become incapacitated. So those are the three documents from that I think everybody should have, regardless of your age, Greg, because we think of older people being the ones that need this stuff. But I tell you an example, a colleague of mine, her 25-year-old daughter went in to deliver her baby. Regular, simple procedure. She wasn't married at the time. Unfortunately, died during pregnancy.
Mm.
Okay.
Mhm.
But before she died, she suffered an aneurysm. So she's not dead yet. Now the hospital's asking who is her health surrogate? She doesn't have
And
one.
have them.
So her parents are believing, well, we should have the right to make the decision for her. And the hospital's like, no, you don't. She doesn't have a document and she's not married. So you don't have the legal right. We are going to make the decision whether or not we're going to pull the plug. The hospital told the parents this. The
Mhm.
parents had to go and file a temporary injunction against the hospital to prevent them from pulling the plug on their daughter. She had given birth, thank God the baby was okay. But
Mhm.
still, they wanted to, because again, by faith, they wanted to believe that their daughter may come back. And the hospital's like, no, we're spending money. We're wasting money here, and nobody's here to make this decision. Had she had a health surrogate, a living will, they're allowed. That tells the hospital, mom, dad, uh, boyfriend or fiance, that's who can make the decisions for me.
Yeah,
And
that's
and that's a
important.
25-year-old. Yes. So don't
That's
think it's
important.
because you got to be older to get these things done. I think you
And
should do
and
it even for your children.
absolutely, and that's one thing that's very important that we need, and just in our community, all communities. One motto that I live by is better to go ahead and prepare than to go back and look and regret. And a lot of
Great
times to do
point.
that, you got to put yourself in position to be able to make those decisions. You got to be able to say that, you know what, this is where I want to go. This is how I want to get there. And these are the things I need to do. But I found,
Definitely.
and through my years of coaching and dealing with people, working with clients, a lot of people just don't know how. A lot of times they don't have the mental capacity to do
Right.
that, or they're struggling with that, or they're just not struggling mentally. That's part of the reason why I created the my book, The Unstoppable Mindset, that you can get if you just click the link in the bio, that will teach you all these strategies on how to make decisions, how to be organized, how to come up with a plan so that you can organize your life, so you can make better decisions, so you can get things done. And I encourage my viewers to purchase that book because I think it really will help you. Once again, the link is in the bio. But this leads to my last question for you. I know I just mentioned the model that I have. What is a model or say that you have that you can share with our viewers that can help them navigate through life's challenges?
Well, I have two technically. So on my business card, I have a scripture, which is Colossians 3:23, that says, whatever you do, do with all your heart as if you're working for God and not for man. So
Mhm.
I believe that's essential to who I am. If I'm going to be doing it, I'm doing it like I'm doing it for God. And if you pretend, and if you think and imagine that you are hired to do something for God, and He's standing there looking at you, wait for you to get it done, you will do it in a way that says, okay, I want all the blessings that God told me. So I'm going to do it the right
Absolutely.
way, right? So that's a very important one for me. That's a foundational one for me. But I also, when I talk to my clients every day, 9 out of 10 of them come to me, they're dealing with an issue, a problem, a concern that's got them to the point that they figure they need counsel. Whether, like I said, they've been involved in an accident and have no idea how to navigate that process, or someone has died and they need to be able to transfer assets and again never have navigated that process, or have encountered the criminal justice system, and that leads to another level of anxiety. What I tell people all the time, and this is one of the things I say to every client, don't allow your possible tomorrow to mess up your definite today.
Well, I
Because
like that. Say it one more
tomorrow,
time. I
yeah,
like that. Say it one more
don't
time in case
allow
they
your
missed it.
possible tomorrow, don't allow your possible tomorrow to mess with your
Hmm.
definite today. And the reason for that is tomorrow may never come. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. So today, I'll give you a perfect example, Greg. I had a client of mine. This guy had been driving with his license suspended over and over and over. He gets taken
Hmm.
into custody. He's not charged. He gets sentenced to, I guess it was like or about to be sentenced to 2 or 3 years or something like that. And then COVID comes, right? He's in jail. and COVID comes. So he's not going anywhere before he gets to trial. And COVID kicks. And then the jail decides we're going to release everybody who's a non-violent individual. He gets to go home. He was about to go to trial. His trial gets canceled. And then they cancel not only his trial, but they dismiss the case after the several times, because, COVID, it was such a lengthy
Yeah.
period. And they ended up dismissing his case. And that's what I was talking about. Don't allow you, because you don't know what tomorrow is. Hurricane Katrina came through. And I'll tell you this, a lot of people in Louisiana were looking at significant jail time with their cases. Hurricane Katrina comes through, destroys New Orleans, destroys the courthouse. Every piece of information on cases that they had stored, all the evidence gets destroyed from the flooding. What do you think happened to those individuals' cases? They got dismissed because there's no evidence to support them. And I say that not in a way that I'm okay with it. What I'm just explaining to you is that because we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, when you add the stress of possible tomorrow, you just create a unnecessary burden on yourself that leads to a stress. So I try to recommend and say this to clients over and over again. I know it's easier said than done. That's what a lot of them often say. That's easier said than done, Mr. Gaspard. I know. But if you start with that premise of today is today, let me enjoy today because I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, I think it lends to your life being a whole lot easier to live. And what is your thing? The purpose, and then you're able to enjoy living this life you're in.
Exactly. I think that's some great advice for people to follow and live by. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Make the best out of today. Make sure that you're doing something positive each and every day. And more important, make sure or try to be a blessing to someone else. And if not just someone else, if you're that person, be a blessing to yourself. Put yourself first and make sure that you are in the right space so that you are able to help others. Well, you know what? I appreciate this conversation we can have today. You are my first guest as we move into a different format with the podcast shows of bringing people in and having just conversations that can really help people just unlock some potential, help them solve some problems so that they can live better. And that's what we want to do here with this show. We want to help people gain all those aspects. So before we wrap up, I know you gave it earlier. Some people might have missed it. If someone needs some legal advice, wants some help, where can they contact you? Whether it's on, I don't know if you have social media. I know you have your law practice number. So share that information with our listeners so they can contact you.
Yes. Again, this is attorney Johnny A. Gaspard, PLLC. You can find me online at www.jag1law.com. My social media handles are Jag1Law, all of them. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Jag1Law, JAG, the number one, the word law, LAW, all together. And that's where I am. I have an office in Miami Lakes as well as in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I do practice in state and federal court, and I practice in the entire state of Florida, and I can practice in other states as well, if necessary. Okay. But you can always find me. Again, my phone number, 305-827-8087 or 954-998-2251. Wherever you are, you can reach me at any of those numbers, and I am more than willing to help. Also, if for whatever reason, because one of the things I failed to mention, Greg, is that a lot of people, especially people of color, we tend to get our first encounter with the justice system is through our licenses, through the traffic incident, whether it be a traffic ticket or whatever. If you need help with that, please feel free to call my office. That's part of what we do, help people get their licenses back, get it straight, get their driving privileges straight. Because again, sometimes we don't think it's a big deal until it happens to us, where we're out there driving, somebody's driving with no insurance, no license. They get in an accident, someone is significantly injured, and you're unable to do anything about it. So please, if you need any help with that, feel free to give us a call as well. But yes, Greg, thank you so much, my brother. I appreciate it. I know you're going to do great with this podcast, telling people how to become better and help themselves be better every single day. And I hope I've done my part in sharing and giving them some information that will help improve their lives as well.
Well, Johnny, definitely want to thank you for coming in. Just a side note for everybody, Johnny is my fraternity brother to the greatest fraternity on earth, Omega Psi fraternity. So I appreciate you sharing your thoughts and your wisdom with people, but more importantly, giving advice that is practical that can help us. And hopefully we can use this information to help other people. And
Definitely.
that is my job here. That is my goal. As you said, we're here to serve. I believe this the spirit of God has let me just, I went from one area of coaching on the court, coaching players for a number of years, to now just helping people in their everyday lives. I think it's a tool. I think we're here to serve because this is the industry that we're in. And I just want to serve my viewers and my listeners. So if there's anything that you want me to do a show on or a topic that you think is important, I want you to put that in my comments below and tell me how we did it. Tell me what we could do better, what you like, what you didn't like, because this show is going to be for you. And I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about you so I can help you solve the problems that you want to have solved. You can also reach me at all social media at Results Sled Life, my YouTube channel, Greg Stanback. There's a lot of great information there for you. And if you want to get that book, The Unstoppable Mind, that will really help you navigate through life and make decisions fast, make them confidently, and give you that mental power and stability to get through life. I encourage you to go to my bio and get the book. I think it'll be a great asset to you or asset to somebody else. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to speaking with you on the next show.